Welcome to the Henry George Daily Devotional number 25. We are in chapter 1 of book 2. Book 2 being population and subsistence. And chapter 1 is the Malthusian Theory, its genesis and support. We just learned what the Malthusian Theory was. Basically, population grows faster. Malthus thinks population grows faster than we're able to produce stuff. And so, because we can't produce enough stuff, for whatever reason, population has to be kept down. We now continue with George. Although in reality not more repugnant to the sense of harmonious adaptation by creative beneficence and wisdom than the complacent no theory, which throws the responsibility for poverty and its concomitants upon the inscrutable decrees of Providence, without attempting to trace them, this theory, in avowedly making vice and suffering the necessary results of a natural instinct, I think that means the desire to have sex, with which are linked the purest and sweetest affections, having sex with someone you love, and making babies, comes rudely in collision with ideas deeply rooted in the human mind, and it was, as soon as formally promulgated, fought with a bitterness in which zeal was often more manifest than logic. But it has triumphantly withstood the ordeal, and in spite of the refutations of the Godwins, the denunciations of the Cobbetts, and all the shafts that argument, sarcasm, ridicule, and sentiment could direct against it, today it stands in the world of thought as an accepted truth, which compels the recognition even of those who would fain disbelieve it. I don't know who the Godwins nor who the Cobbetts are, but I'm guessing they thought that good Christian people should have lots of children, maybe. And yet, the Malthusian doctrine has still been believed, according to George. Just like a lot of people today think we're overpopulating. The causes of its triumph, the sources of its strength are not obscure, seemingly backed by an indisputable arithmetical truth that a continuously increasing population must eventually exceed the capacity of the earth to furnish food or even standing room. The Malthusian theory is supported by analogies in the animal and vegetable kingdoms. The vegetable kingdom, where life everywhere beats wastefully against the barriers that hold its different species in check. Analogies to which the course of modern thought, in leveling distinctions between different forms of life, has given a greater and greater weight. And it is apparently corroborated by many obvious facts, such as the prevalence of poverty, vice, and misery amid dense populations. The general effect of material progress in increasing population without relieving pauperism, and the rapid growth of numbers in newly settled countries, and the evident retardation of increase in more densely settled countries by the mortality among the class condemned to want. Kind of zoned out during that. But yes, it is seemingly corroborated or apparently corroborated because we do see poverty, vice, and misery in really crowded places, and so you could assume that that's due to overpopulation. I get it, but they're wrong. The Malthusian theory furnishes a general principle which accounts for these and similar facts, and accounts for them in a way which harmonizes with the doctrine that wages are drawn from capital, and with all the principles that are deduced from it. According to the current doctrine of wages, wages fall as increase in the number of laborers necessitates. Wages fall as increase in the number of laborers necessitates a more minute division of capital. According to the Malthusian theory, poverty appears as increase in population necessitates the more minute division of subsistence. Yes. According to Malthusian theory, more people means smaller pieces of the pie. According to the debunked theory of wages coming out of capital, more laborers means smaller pieces of the pie. So it makes sense that people who believe Malthusian's theory would be likely to believe that wages are paid out of capital and vice versa. Okay, we continue with George. It requires but the identification of capital with subsistence and the number of laborers with population, an identification made in the current treatises on political economy, where the terms are often converted to make the two propositions as identical formally as they are substantially. We have a footnote. The effect of the Malthusian doctrine upon the definitions of capital may, I think, be seen by comparing see pages 3 through 34. The definition of Smith, who wrote prior to Malthus, with the definitions of Ricardo, McCulloch, and Mill, who wrote subsequently. We're not going to go back to those pages. And thus it is, as stated by Buckle in the passage previously quoted, that the theory of population advanced by Malthus has appeared to prove decisively the theory of wages advanced by Smith. Yes, so to sum it up, Smith said wages are paid out of how much capital is available, and then Malthus went further to say yes, and not only that, but because we're having more children, then we're able to create capital. This is what is causing all of this poverty. Progress and poverty. Ricardo, who a few years subsequent to the publication of the Essay on Population corrected the mistake into which Smith had fallen as to the nature and cause of rent, furnished the Malthusian theory an additional support by calling attention to the fact that rent would increase as the necessities of increasing population forced cultivation to less and less productive lands, or to less and less productive points on the same lands, thus explaining the rise of rent. In this way was formed a triple combination by which the Malthusian theory has been buttressed on both sides, the previously received doctrine of wages and the subsequently received doctrine of rent, exhibiting in this view but special examples of the operation of the general principle to which the name of Malthus has been attached. The fall in wages and the rise in rents, which come with increasing population, being but modes in which the pressure of population upon subsistence shows itself. This is what Malthus is into. Thus, taking its place in the very framework of political economy, for the science as currently accepted has undergone no material change or improvements since the time of Ricardo, though in some minor points it has been cleared and illustrated. The Malthusian theory, though repugnant to sentiments before alluded to, is not repugnant to other ideas which, in older countries at least, generally prevail among the working classes, but on the contrary, like the theory of wages by which it is supported and in turn supports, it harmonizes with them. To the mechanic or operative, the cause of low wages and of the ability to get employment is obviously the competition caused by the pressure of numbers, and in the squalid abodes of poverty, what seems clearer than that there are too many people? But the great cause of the triumph of this theory is that instead of menacing any vested right or antagonizing any powerful interest, it is eminently soothing and reassuring to the classes who, wielding the power of wealth, largely dominate thought. Yes, the rich people. At a time when old support, I don't know, I don't want to get in this trend of just always hating rich people. I mean, I guess it is, I don't know. Not simply for being, people who create wealth is valuable. We can't forget that. We want to create wealth. We want to improve our lives. Tyranny is evil and should be fought against. Anyway, yes, there are these powerful classes that are wealthy, uh, and it is easy for them to think that we just shouldn't overpopulate. Um, Idiocracy. All right, we'll continue with George. Yeah, we'll finish this passage. This paragraph. At a time when old supports were falling away, it came to the rescue of the special privileges by which a few monopolized so much of the good things of this world, proclaiming a natural cause for the want and misery, which, if attributed to political institutions, must condemn every government under which they exist. The quote, "The essay on population was avowedly a reply to William Godwin's Inquiry Concerning Political Justice." Okay, so Godwin was mentioned earlier. Now we know a little bit more about Godwin. His work was a work asserting the principle of human equality, and its purpose was to justify existing inequality by shifting the responsibility for it from human institutions to the laws of the Creator. Okay, so he goes for a religious spiritual explanation primarily. There was nothing new in this, for Wallace, nearly 40 years before, had brought forward the danger of excessive multiplication as the answer to the demands of justice for an equal distribution of wealth. But the circumstances of the times were such as to make the same idea, when brought forward by Malthus, peculiarly grateful to a powerful class, in whom an intense fear of any questioning of the existing state of things had been generated by the outburst of the French Revolution. I would direct you all to the website YouTube and to search for the Monty Python skit about having a bunch of kids. I forget what it's called. Oh well. That should be enough of a clue. You'll find it. See you later.